Thank you for joining a read-aloud story. Oona, written by Kelly DiPucchio and illustrated by Raissa Figueroa, is highlighted in November of the 2025 PRC-Saltillo Calendar. This story is read using the TAAP strategy to encourage conversation and interaction with the AAC learner. The words we encourage you to model this month are OMG, her, will, very, but, and try. Other words you could model throughout the story are read, read more, turn the page, and the end. You will see these reminders throughout the video. You can use Word Finder on your AAC system to find these words in your vocabulary. Let's take a closer look at how to model these words and tap your way through the story. The first step to tap your way through is to pick an activity. We've already done that. We're reading the book Oona. Next, you decide how often you will stop and tap. For this story, we suggest tapping after every page of the book. So, how do you tap? First, you talk about it. We suggest modeling the words OMG and her. You can say, OMG, look at her. OMG. OMG, that's cool. Or whatever else grabs your AAC learner's attention. Next, you ask a question and wait for a response. We suggest modeling the word will. Some things you could say are, will she? Will her friends help? Will her work pay off? Then you acknowledge their response. This month, we suggest modeling the message very. You could say, she is trying very hard. She is very good. That is very true. Or whatever else feels natural. Finally, you propel the activity forward or predict. We suggest you model the words but and try. You could say, but she is trying. Yes, but will she? She should try. Enjoy simply listening to the story or tap your way through the story demonstrating words and locations for the AAC learner on their technology. Find other words that are interesting to the AAC learner and use these words in other activities. Join us to find out if Oona will get the best treasure ever and stay out of trouble. Oona, the Brave Little Mermaid, written by Kelly DiPucchio, illustrated by Raissa Figueroa. Oona, the Brave Little Mermaid. Oona was sweet and a little bit salty, like the ocean where she lived. She was also brave and curious, like most treasure hunters. When Oona was just a baby, no bigger than a scallop, she chased a pearl into the mouth of a whale. Lucky for her, she popped right back out. As the years passed, Oona found bigger treasure and even bigger trouble. It's a good thing she has Otto. Oona rescued Otto from an oyster net when he was just a pup. She taught him tricks like sit, roll over, walrus, and her favorite, pufferfish. Oona and Otto searched for treasure nearly every day. They uncovered keys and coins and buttons and bottles. Sometimes they even found lost gold, and sometimes lost glasses. But there was one special treasure Oona could never quite reach: the crown. It was extra sparkly in a way that made Oona's heart thump. But the crown was stuck deep in the rift, and not a pole or pail or the sticky stick of a snail could get it unstuck. Still, Oona was determined. But Oona had a plan, and it was a good one. She'd knock the crown loose. Unfortunately, the current shifted. The lobster pot and rock drifted. And the squid, well, see for yourself. It's hard to say who was more surprised when the water cleared, Oona or the shark. Her next plan most definitely would have worked if the crabs hadn't been so crabby and the waves hadn't been so wavy. And if that long ship plank hadn't bumped her head hard before the greedy rift gobbled it up too. Poor Oona. This was getting personal. She shouted into the pit, "You can keep your dumb crown. I quit." Generally speaking, mermaids are not quitters. But at this point, one could hardly blame her. Instead of looking for treasure with Otto, Oona napped on the rocks with the sea lions. She drew pictures in the sand with the starfish, and she read from her favorite glass bottles with her land friends. All of this would have been perfectly fine, except Oona wasn't perfectly fine. Clearly, she was missing her spark, and a mermaid without her spark is like a seagull without an appetite. Unnatural. A seashell washed ashore. Oona studied it thoughtfully. It gave her an idea. She got right to work. The next day, Oona peered nervously into the rift. Why did it look so much deeper and scarier than she remembered? Otto pretended to be a narwhal, making Oona laugh. Admittedly, the new treasure hunting goggles she'd invented were funny looking, but they were also her best shot at reaching the crown. She dived to the bottom of the murky rift. That's when Oona noticed something she couldn't see from above. A bridge. A bridge made from a crate, a rock, and the very same plank that had plunked her on the head. And it led straight to the crown. But what was that rumbling sound? It grew louder and louder. The ocean floor shook, and the water around Oona churned into a thick stew of swirling sand and sea creatures. She couldn't see. She felt trapped. Would the hungry rift gobble her up too? Through the commotion, Oona could hear something else in the distance. It was faint, but comforting and familiar. The whales. Oona sang along until the rumbling stopped and the water cleared. Finally, this was her chance. Oona held her breath. Ready, steady, aim! Clink! Hooray! We did it, Oona cheered, placing the crown on her best friend. It really is beautiful, she gushed. But these, said Oona excitedly, holding up her new goggles, these are spectacular. Otto agreed, because sometimes the best treasure in the world isn't found. It's made. The end.